Hey everyone that's out there watching, my name is Michael at Modio and we're back with another episode of Qlik Luminary Life. Today we have a very special surprise guest. He's not technically a Qlik Luminary, but he's technically the Qlik Luminary of all luminaries. He's a father, a husband, a CEO. I also heard you're a Def Leppard fan, and not to mention guy with the most amazing first name, Mike Capone. How are you today, Mike?
I'm doing great, Michael. Thanks so much for having me on. That was one of the nicest introductions I've ever received.
You're welcome, man. Did what I can, did what I can. So I'd like to start this interview off by asking you, what question do you wish most interviewers would ask you?
My favorite question is always, what makes you excited about coming to work every day, right? And that to me is the ultimate question, right? Because the reality in life is you spend more time at work than you do with your family, and particularly when you're a CEO, right? It's a lifestyle commitment, and with Qlik and with the Luminary program, my enthusiasm is completely unbridled. Like I'm the luckiest man in the world in terms of the fortune I have of working for Qlik and with all the Qlik community, customers, luminaries, etc. It's just great.
Amazing. What a great answer. And Qlik seems to be such a forward-thinking and philanthropic company. I was wondering, what is the company culture like at Qlik, and what sort of changes to it did you spearhead whenever you became the CEO?
Well, the culture of Qlik drew me to the company. It's got a long history, founded in Sweden. That sort of social responsibility is baked into our soul. And the one thing I wanted to do when I joined was don't mess that up, right? Because it really was about giving back. And when you stop people in the hallway at Qlik, they don't talk about Qlik as a job. They talk about it as like a commitment. It's like a way of life. We have this term clickies that you hear quite regularly. So the first thing I want to do was make sure that people understood that I believed in that, and it was a big draw for me. In terms of changing things, the company is great. Like the product is spectacular, as you know,
Right.
and our customers are great. 50,000 customers. It really was about what's the next chapter going to be for Qlik, right? We kind of run the kind of core analytics journey for a long time very successfully, but the market was evolving. And I think you've seen us evolve with the market. As customers ask us or talk to us about the entire analytics journey, it's no longer just about who has the prettiest dashboards. It's about how do I get all this data into analytics ready format? And then how do I leverage things like machine learning, artificial intelligence on the back end to provide successful outcomes? And you've seen from our strategy over the last couple of years, that's what we've been focused on.
Yeah, and you guys are doing a great job at it as well. Great job. I really support what you guys do. Absolutely. And a question I've always wanted to ask you, as the CEO of a company whose heart and soul is essentially data driven, what's your opinion on data versus feeling and intuition? Do you think that, intuition and feeling is just a combination of life experiences and leadership skills? Or, I guess with access to so much data, do you still feel the need to rely on intuition or feeling at any point in your life?
Yes, of course. We at Qlik, we don't believe that artificial intelligence is gonna replace people, right? That would be a leap too far. Now, will it be self-driving cars and things like that? Of course, but in the spirit of like really big decision making, ultimately the judgment is going to be involved, and experience is helpful in shaping judgment. So I am very data driven. Like I have the Qlik dashboards up on my screen all the time, as you would imagine, and I always look for the most data that I can. But to give you an example, like we did the largest acquisition in company history last year in Attunity. That was a great deal. If I looked at all of the data, I wouldn't have been able to draw a conclusion because it was a line of business that we had never been in before. And it was going to be all net new to us. And there had to be some judgment on my part that as a company, we could absorb it. We could integrate it. We could make the changes we needed to make. So yes, I collected all the data, but in the end I had to leap. And that leap was based on my experience and my judgment.
Nice. It sounds like you have a really good balance then. I feel that's a great answer, and probably the way that it needs to be. A balance of data and using your intuition.
Yeah.
And I read that you have a background in healthcare. And so I was wondering, how has this pandemic inspired you with Qlik, and I guess the role that data analytics has in fighting the virus?
Yeah, so my background prior to Qlik, I was at a company that was technology for clinical trials. So all the vaccine work that you're hearing about right now is all being tested on the software that I used to actually build and manage at Medidata, my last company. And I was really connected to that mission. One of the things that enabled me to actually move away from that, even though I really loved healthcare, was I found out that Qlik is deeply involved in healthcare as well. So even though we work across all verticals, we have amazing relationships with really big customers who are doing meaningful things to combat coronavirus. And so both from a kind of medical, clinical, healthcare, drug development standpoint, but also, we work with nursing homes, right, to help predict outbreaks and get them prepared. Like we work with payers and providers. People are running analytics right now on our technology on how you can possibly distribute a vaccine to the billions of people worldwide. And it's a data exercise. It really is a data exercise.
Right.
And the beauty of Qlik versus other platforms is because we have two things that nobody else has: our ability to scale effectively, as you've seen, but then also this thing we call our associative engine, which is really just a fancy way of saying the ability to take kind of disparate data from different sources and merge it together and see patterns in the data that nobody else can see. That is really helpful at a time like this.
Right. The power of the gray.
That's it. You
Yeah,
know it.
man. And I know you guys also have a keen interest in serving like the IT community, as well as, end users and department heads for the ease of getting data. And I think your company has contributed to a major increase in data literacy. So I was wondering, are there, any type of remarks you would like to make to these audiences about Qlik that they might have missed, or, maybe something they don't realize about Qlik?
Yeah, I used to be, I'm a recovering CIO, right? So I was CIO of a $12 billion company at one point in my career. I love that job. Well, I like this job more because I get to go out with customers and do a lot of things. But I learned a lot as CIO. And you always want partners, vendors, but really partners who go on the journey with you, right? And companies that drive an outcome for you. Understand my strategy, understand what I'm trying to get to. Don't just show up at the end of the quarter and try to sell me software. And so the culture I try to build at Qlik is really that, which is we have to do it with our customers, not to them. We have to bridge that gap between business analytical users and IT. Like IT needs to secure this stuff. They need to do data integration. They need to make sure this stuff all hangs together. And so we try to be very collaborative across our customers in going on a journey with them and driving an outcome. I think personally, what I hear from customers all the time, including I was just on with the chief data officer of a large bank last week, is that he values that most about Qlik, is that we are true partners, not trying to sell around anybody, but trying to sell a cohesive solution.
Nice, incredible. And so I recently became a father, and I know that your father was a huge source of inspiration to you. So I was kind of wondering what lessons or words of advice that you try to actively pass on to your daughter and even the upcoming generation of kids.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually literally pulled out, you mentioned that. I have a frame of a cover of a magazine that my dad was on, and it was some obscure trade publication. It was like business computer systems, but it's such an inspiration for me, because he just led me to believe that I could be whatever I wanted to be. And unfortunately, he didn't live long enough to see me become a CEO, but I know he'd be super proud of me. But the thing that he always gave me was that belief. And so when I talked to my daughter right now wants to be an oncologist. And like,
Nice.
I think that's awesome. Like, I just tell her, what, that's great. I'll support you any way I can in that dream, because you can be. I don't talk about, well, it's 8 years of school and you got to
Yeah,
take a loan.
right.
It's all about like believing. And like I'm so grateful for that inspiration in my life. And my dad, he grew up on welfare. Like he literally, in the U.S., like that's public assistance, like because his father left him when he was young, so his mother had to raise him as a single mom, and he didn't have anything, no breaks, and he worked his way up. He lied about his age to get in the military, and somehow between there and the end of his career, where he was CIO of like the third largest retail company in the world at the time, he did that by himself. Like he just did it. He was determined and he did it, and that's the moral of the story: determination.
Right. That's an incredible story. And I'm a firm believer also that, your internal beliefs in yourself really help to shape, your external reality and your future going forward. So,
Well said. Well
yeah,
said.
excellent. That's a really, really amazing story to hear. And this is a kind of off the wall question, but I was wondering if you could name a song that you have completely memorized.
Wow, I should have thought of that. Well, look, I've memorized. Wow, I probably memorized every James Taylor song. I probably memorized every Rolling Stones song. Just not every well-known Rolling Stones song. So they're all there. Like I could, if I have to name one, I could sing you like "Give Me Shelter" right now from the Rolling Stones. I won't because that would be no one will ever watch an interview from you again if I do that. But I could do it.
We'll charge for those concert tickets later. No worries. And I know you're also a huge fan of Def Leppard. I think I read that somewhere. So a follow-up question would be, do you think you're a better air drummer or a better air guitarist?
Well, I was things people don't know about me. Thank God there was no social media back at the time, but I was in a band in college. I played bass guitar, so definitely better guitar player. But my hair was really long. No, I'm not talking about COVID long. I'm talking about like really
Oh,
long.
nice.
But I was, yeah, no, I was a semi-serious musician until I couldn't make any money at it, and that led me to learn how to program, I guess.
I hear you. I hear you. And I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do have one last final question for you. I really want to know, at the end of the day, what would you most like to be remembered for when it's all said and done?
You know what? I always tell people most of what you do, isn't going to matter 50 years from now. But if you can leave the world a better place than when you came into it, that's really what I would be remembered for. And for me, it is, my wife and daughter, obviously, like my daughter's my legacy. It is the not-for-profit work that I do. So I'm on the board of a large public university here in New Jersey, in the U.S., and then I'm on the board of Leukemia Lymphoma Society, which is, helping to fight blood cancers. Those things will live on, but from a corporate world, it's not unabashed capitalism to say I believe that my company is changing the world and how people use data and analytics to make the world a better place and to drive good business outcomes. And so I wouldn't mind if that was also a part of how people talked about me. He was a great
Right.
CEO, but that would be the order. He was a great father. He was a husband. Um, he was great at social causes, and he's also a great CEO.
And it seems like you're doing great at all those things. I really want to say thank you so much for doing this. It's really awesome getting to know you further. And I'm sure many people only probably know you as Mike Capone, CEO of Qlik, but they don't get to see the man who wears many hats, and at the end of the day, it's just a regular guy and a father and a husband. So I really appreciate you letting me kind of just help you showcase that a little bit.
My pleasure. It's been great chatting with you, and I think everybody knows what a big fan I am of the Luminary program and all that everybody does. So I'd be remiss if I didn't say shout out to the Luminaries.
Right. Yeah, they're the greatest. And everyone's been super, super nice, helpful, very easy to talk to, personable. They sing the praises of Qlik. It's great. I really appreciate everything you guys are doing. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this.
My great pleasure.
Thank you very much.